This is the puff adder. And the puff adder is not nearly as pretty or impressive for most people, but this is one of the most significant snakes in Africa. Now, in South Africa, if you get bitten by a snake, statistically, you're going to get bitten by a puff adder for two reasons. Number one, there's not one place within the borders of South Africa where you don't find puff adders. Take your snake hook, go into the field across from the farm. Go poke around on a day like this and you'll find one. In the middle of the summer, you'll find two. And puff adders are Bitis, which means they lie next to footpaths where they can ambush their prey. And these snakes will also hide under rock piles, they'll hide in firewood, anywhere where there's food. And they ambush their prey. Now, they've got the kind of dubious distinction of having the most painful snake bite on earth. There was a guy that has spent 40 years studying the venomous snakes of the world, and they would milk them and then study the venom for medical treatments and antivenom production. And he got bitten by a couple of snakes in 40 years, and he said by far the puff adder was the most painful bite he had ever had. Now, the pain is described as a cold fire. I don't know if you ever burned yourself really badly, and it reaches a point where your central nervous system can't distinguish between the hot and the cold of it. It's just screechingly painful. Well, that's a puff adder bite. Now, puff adders are hinged fang snakes. So here's what happens. When the mouth opens and they bite, the fangs unhinge like two switchblades. And the snake this size, the fangs are about 12 millimeters long. When they bite their prey, the body fires forward, the mouth opens, the fangs unhinge. They drive the fangs in, inject 100 milligrams of tissue-destroying venom, pull them out, and on the way back, the fangs retract and the mouth closes. That takes a quarter of a second. This puff adder technically can bite you 4 times in a second, and it does happen when people are walking through thick scrub or thick grass. They're not wearing proper clothes. They walk, they get bitten, they don't realize they were bitten, and in about 30 to 40 seconds, what we call the pain grenade explodes in your ankle. It literally feels like somebody just shot your foot off with a shotgun. And then the pain just kicks in, and then it doesn't stop. Now, here's the thing. The cytotoxic venom is incredibly good at destroying tissue. But antivenom is incredibly good at stopping the venom from destroying the tissue. So you get to the hospital in about an hour's time, this leg, and I'm not exaggerating, a leg as thick as mine, gets to about that thick, puffs up like a marshmallow in a microwave. And you get a symptom called compartment syndrome. That tissue starts to swell beyond what the flesh can hold. So as the flesh swells, it presses and squeezes the blood vessels shut. And eventually it's just going to rupture. So what they used to do many years ago, they give you a local anesthetic, take a scalpel blade, and they'd split that leg open like an overcooked sausage, and they'd stitch it back together and leave enough space for the blood to flow so you wouldn't get the process. Today, they figured out gravity does it just as well. So you're going to go to the hospital, you're going to be lying on a stretcher, and that leg, or that limb on which you were bitten, is going to be as high above your heart as they can get it. And what will happen, all that envenomated fluid is going to get pushed down into your body. Now, why would you want to spread the venom? Because the more it dilutes, the longer it takes for significant tissue damage to set in. And during this time when they administer the antivenom molecules will bond with the venom and stop any further damage. So what does antivenom do? Well, it's very simple. You get an antivenom molecule, and it is only chemically attracted to a venom molecule. When the two of them bond, they form an unbreakable bond, and you end up with a molecule that is too large for the human body to use. And then within 12 to 14 days, the human body just excretes it. Now, puff adder bites tend to take a lot of time in hospital. It's not unusual for somebody that survived the puff adder bite to stay for a month. The problem is tissue necrosis sets in quickly. So if the tissue is damaged, the doctors will keep you in hospital until they see that there is no other risk of infection. So if the doctor comes and he goes, okay, well, we're going to keep you for today, and he comes back tomorrow and he says, we're going to keep you for today, in most cases, they have a good reason for it. Okay, so excruciatingly painful bite. But 99.5% of people that get bitten by puff adders and get proper medical attention, a month later, there's this thing that looks like a 2-rand coin-sized bird, a little bit of scar tissue. There's no loss of limb, there's no loss of functionality, your limb still works fine, and you'll have a cool story to tell. Okay, now, this is a keel scale snake. So I'm going to put them in a tube. I'm going to give you a chance to touch it. Okay, now, the reason I do this is because keel-scaled snakes are usually the ones that bite people. Any continent in the world, most people will get bitten by keel-scaled snakes. If you know what it feels like, you know how to recognize them. So I'm going to put them in a tube, and hopefully, I'll do it without getting bit. So far, so good. Now, bearing in mind, this is a viper, which means it has the radial heat sensing plates. Even if it can't see my hand, it can still follow the exact position of my hand by the temperature. And scientists reckon that they can detect the warmth of the blood vessels under your skin. It's pretty cool. Now, I'm just going to keep my feet out of the way. I've really got to get a pair of gumboots. Okay, where are you? See, that's what makes me nervous, is when he curls like that.
You need a thicker part.
Now, it's every time when you kind of reach out, there's that split second where the snake can pull back and bite you. And every time that I do that, I'm kind of waiting for it to happen. Okay, now I'm just going to keep him so I can get him nice and comfortable. So I've got a good grip. I wouldn't want him to slip. There you go. Okay, I want you to feel what it feels like. So this is a keel-scaled snake. It is not uncommon for a large puff adder to bite, but not deliver any venom. And the reason they do this is when people accidentally step on it, the snake understands that it is that your action is not intentional. It understands that you stepped on it.